Caleb. I couldn't for the life of me. I knew it was a different name, and
Okay, Calvin Castine here, and I'm going to try to stay off camera because I'm real close to the camera, and we don't want to block the view of these people that we're going to be talking with. And we're at the St. Mary's Rectory on this 18th day of June 2002, and we're here, I believe, to talk Catholic education. I was invited down, and I have an idea what we're going to be talking about, but who knows, I might be surprised. And with me is Father J. Seymour, otherwise known as James Seymour.
That's right. Well,
he goes by J. And Sister Cordata, who has a list of names, and I'll let you, Sister, tell me all the names
that I go by?
Yes.
Well,
all your aliases.
I'm just Sister Marie Cordata Kelly.
Okay.
And most of the time people can't say Cordata, so I get Sister Marie or Sister Kelly. But after they know me, I'm just Sister Cordata.
So, but you answer to all three.
Right. I answer to anything.
Okay, and Sister is the new principal, but this is not a rerun. She has been here in the past at St. Mary's, and the Father has been a pastor here for about a year. And I think I'll just start by asking both of them what's on your mind and why am I here? What do we want to talk about?
Well, if you want me to start, I should mention too that Sister has another name. One of her friends calls her that Kelly girl. You know, so when I was told that Kelly girl, I said, "Who are you talking about?" I said, "Oh, yeah. So she's
That was Sister Judith.
Well, you know who that is, right? But it's Sister Judith, yeah. No, but we're very grateful, Calvin, to have you come over, and part of it is too, you know, it's kind of a way for us to express our joy to have Sister Cordata, that Kelly girl, back with us here in Champlain. You know, she has a marvelous following here, and we're just thrilled to have her back with us. And part of the reason that we are so thrilled is because of the values that she represents, and she has a strong history in Catholic education, and kids who have studied or worked with Sister when she was here before. I hear different stories that she has had a profound influence on them, and these are kids now who are probably in high school and maybe had limited contact with Sister, but even then they seem to have memories of her, and so she had an impact, and we really believe that impact will continue with the new families that she'll be coming into contact with, the new students. And we really want to promote our school and the Catholic education and the values of Catholic education that we have at St. Mary's Academy. And you know, to have Sister on board as principal, I think this is just a wonderful opportunity for us. Yeah.
That's quite a build-up, Sister. Can you live up to that reputation?
Well, I'm going to work at it. I'm a kind of just live that present day as best I can, and I can say for St. Mary's that I came here in '96, and I had been in high school at the time for about 27 years. And I don't even think I knew what to say to the kids. Almost everything I said for the first month was, "That's nice." But I learned a lot here from the kids. I had taught the grades before, but it was getting back into it. And there's a beautiful simplicity with the kids. There's a wholesomeness here at St. Mary's. There's a strong family spirit. There's a unified core, and I'm always very, very happy to be with these people. So it's really a privilege to come back to work with them. As far as Catholic education goes, you know, I was reading the other day where this little kid was learning to read, and the mother gave her a storybook at home, and she grabbed that storybook and she's circling, you know, and her mother said, looked in it, and she had circled the name God, all through there. And And the mother said to her, "Why did you circle the name God?" And she says, "Because I know in my life that I'm going to need God, and I want to know where to find him." And I thought that was kind of cute, but that's what Catholic education is about. It's about God. Do we give a good education? Yes. Do we have high academic standards? Yes. Do the kids get a well-rounded education? Yes. But what do we have and that the public schools can't give? We have those values. And I personally, when I look at our television, and I think a lot of people would agree with that, when I look at television, I look at the media, I look at the values that are circulating today, I worry about our young people. They need those core values. They need to know respect and reverence for life, for each other. They need to learn to give instead of always taking in. They need compassion and caring. They need to know that their fullness is in serving. They need responsibility and accountability, but gently so. They need to learn integrity. They need to learn truth. I think sometimes the values of today are do anything you want as long as you don't get caught. The wrong is in getting caught. And what you are when no one's looking and no one finds out is what you are. And I think those are some of the things. To love God. We can fill ourselves with everything that is advertised. If we don't fill ourselves with God, we're empty. And it's a safe environment. It's a family spirit. I always take my hat off, not literally, but I always take my hat off to the faculty and the staff that work in Catholic schools. They get about half of what they get in the public school. They don't have the benefits. They don't have the retirement, and yet they're there, and they are there just out of pure, commitment and dedication. And I know when I was here before, we had a fine faculty and staff, and I know I will come back to that. And whoever comes to our schools, that's what they come for. And day in and day out, in the curriculum, in the math, in the science, in the English, in the history, we can integrate those Catholic values, those gospel values, those values that those students are going to take with them for life. And that's what I see as the importance. I worked with Joanna Orr and John Huckrow and Bob Musso and Kevin Mulligan, Tom Graves, Krista Grand Prix. They are wonderful to work with, and I can't ask for better cooperation. They send us their title, their title people, and we get along beautifully. And I know they're doing a very, very fine job. But our laws today can't, in a public school, can't even read the Christmas story. They can teach about Buddha. They can teach about Muhammad. Can't mention the name of God. And if we don't give our kids God, what have they got?
Well, you've already mentioned one of my pet peeves is what the kids are accessing on regular television. You don't have to get the pay channels anymore to get that kind of stuff. And you don't have to be watching that show. The commercials for those shows are things enough that would shock your grandmother.
I know. Shock me too.
That's why we're so grateful for cable television. We come in your work there. We can watch your program and that.
Well, what I tell people is what I put on may not always be the greatest thing in the world, but if the kids are watching that, they're not watching something else.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah, and I think we have to stress with parents too that an hour and a half a day of TV is enough for the kids. They're finding it's doing neurological damage. When the kids are parked in front of the TV or in front of video games, what we're finding, sometimes the teachers get the rap for this, but if you remember when we were young, I was young before you two were young, but anyhow, when we were young, we did a lot of pretending and a lot of playing and a lot of nothing. You had to pretend everything happened, and for me, because I lived in Sable Forks, they couldn't get the cable over not the cable, but they couldn't get TV
Signal,
waves
the
over
TV
the
signal,
mountains.
yeah.
So that we were listening to the old programs, and you pictured that, do you see?
On the radio.
And I remember reading through grade school a book a day. In fact, when I graduated from the Catholic school, I think I'd read every book in the library that was readable. And that develops vocabulary and transition and imagination and a picturing. And parked in front of the TV and video games makes kids passive, and it doesn't develop their communication skills, and it doesn't develop their imagination, and it doesn't really develop an attention span with them. And so, so that's one thing, to limit the television. And another thing is, don't put a TV in the kids' rooms, because just what you said, Calvin, you don't know what they're watching. And they can flick that channel, or you have a computer in their, in their room, and they can flick that faster, and they can get by any code. They're smarter than we are in computers.
Oh yeah.
So, so I would appeal to all parents, to watch over your kids. The minds and the training and the beauty that we can put into their hearts is the greatest gift that we can give to them.
Okay, now it's going to be back to having a sister at the helm here. A couple weeks ago, Father, we celebrated the 95th year of the Daughters of the Charity of the Sacred Heart being in town. Will they still have a presence here? I know they...
Right. Sister Teresa was the last daughter of the Sacred Heart who taught here, and she left the year that I arrived. So this year is actually the first year, I think, in the history of our school that we have not had a religious sister on the staff. Now we still have Sister Solange, who is a great asset to our parish, but she mostly helps out here in administrative role here in our parish office in the rectory, and is not directly attached to the school. So to have Sister Cordata back, we're returning to the long-standing tradition we have had of having a religious in the school, and I think that's an important. I think there's almost a symbolic value. Not to say that a lay leader, a lay principal, does not have some of those same Christian values, but there is a symbolic value, and just the presence of a religious, speaks volumes to the community and sends a message. So I think it's great to have a sister back with us.
And Sister Cordata is one of the few sisters that I know who dresses like the sisters used to dress.
Well, we're a diocesan community. Most of our sisters are from the North Country. I'm from Ausable Forks, and we're just North Country people. I did work with Sister Teresa when Father said she left when I came. I wondered if she left because you came, but that's why I laughed. But anyhow, I know she didn't. I know she was called by her community for other work. I worked with Sister Teresa. I have the deepest of respect for the Daughters of Charity of the Sacred Heart, and Sister Solange, and I think they have left their imprint on this community, and that stability and that wonderful, wonderful spirit. Our sisters too, although we weren't in Champlain and we have not traditionally been in Plattsburgh, but our sisters were in Dannemora, Port Henry. We were still in Thai, Peru, and we were in Lake Placid, Malone, Messina we still are, but Watertown, Carthage, Governor, Ogdensburg. So our sisters traditionally, at one time when I was younger, we were in about 25 schools. And we just kind of stay and keep pace with the North Country people. And it's our privilege to be here.
And you mentioned your order. What is your order?
Sisters of St. Joseph of the Diocese of Ogdensburg. And our mother house is right in Watertown. Yeah.
Okay, so Diocese of Ogdensburg is right in your name?
Well, it is, and that's where we work, right here. Like I've been here, I was born and brought up and taught by the Sisters of St. Joseph, went into the Sisters of St. Joseph, and have worked in the diocese ever since. That's what we do. So.
But getting sisters are just like getting priests, they're
That's
harder and
right.
harder to come
That's
by.
right.
isn't
That's
that
right.
Yeah.
That's
I
right.
think it's commitment, Calvin. I think that's again an offshoot of the culture, is commitment to anything, to marriage, um, to religious life, to the priesthood, whatever. And I think sometimes it doesn't really appeal to people to say, "Ooh, give your whole life to the Lord," because sometimes the Lord is taking a back seat. And that's another concern, another reason why we need our Catholic schools, because I think as time goes on and people get to know this, that if you don't have the Lord, you don't have much to stand on. And I know many parents do a beautiful job with their children, but where do you want them 7 hours a day? And what kind of values do you want put in their everyday life along with their education? And I worry some of the rules that are going through, that public school has no choice. They're coming right through the legal system on morals and values and life, sexuality. I worry very, very much about what values our kids. They're not going to know the difference. That's the problem, because they see it on television. If they're going to learn it in school, what if we lose this generation?
Yes. Well, I notice simple little things like standing at attention during the Star Spangled Banner.
Mm-hmm.
You see so many kids just fidget around and don't even stand still, let alone stand at attention.
Right.
And of course, a lot of even adults now forget they've got these baseball caps on, and they forget to take their hats off. Not out of disrespect, just out of thoughtlessness.
Mhm, that's right.
They just forget to. It's so much a part of their head where. So there's little ways respect has been lost in this country, and religion and patriotism, I think, have.
And our kids in our Catholic schools aren't perfect, but we're nagging. and and we
I'm a
just
great
are always
example of that.
reminded. Yeah. But we do, that's the kind of thing that we're talking about, that we have to keep. There are things that used to just be common sense and used to just be taken for granted. Hold the door for someone. Help somebody if you see them, struggling. Pick up something when people drop it. Say hello to people. Think twice before you say something that might hurt another. Those are just to speak kindly, or to notice, or don't laugh, if someone is hurting, or don't say something hurtful. Don't call people names. Don't make reference to somebody's physical characteristics. Everybody struggles with self-image. Those kind of things. And also mixed in with religion is always, how do you deal with your emotions, stress, anger, that kind of thing. Because if you have psychology without religion, you've got a problem. And if you have religion without psychology, religion isn't something you put in a drawer and take out on Sunday. But religion is something that is in your whole being, and in your psyche, and in your emotional being, and in your life, and in your response. Mm-hmm. So has to be, we want it as much a part of the life. I urge families to pray together, just to say a little prayer, even if they at night gather right after a meal, or sometime to just even pray for people who need our prayers, or when you hear of a tragedy on television, just to pray, that kind of thing.
Sister mentioned opening a door or stooping over to pick up something for someone. I'm reminded of Saint Teresa, who said, "What you could save a soul by simply picking up a pin." And there's a profound truth to something like that. Just the fact that maybe some little gesture of kindness might touch someone in the most profound way, and it's those little things that I think we're trying to encourage too in the values of the Catholic school. So that's part of the reason that too we ask you here to get that message out, and again, as Sister said too, I think we're all aware of the fine schools that we have in our area, the public schools, but again, just the fact of being able to mention God in the classroom is is an alternative, and it's something important that we have to preserve. And so to keep that alternative as a part of the choices that families have in terms of educating their children. So I think that's why I want to keep plugging for St. Mary's Academy.
And we all know that I think a big part of it is the fact that retaining teachers and the expense of retaining lay teachers now, as opposed to when we had the religious orders running the schools. It's tougher and tougher to keep the schools open. OLVA is closing this year. St. Alexander's in Morrisonville has been closed for a couple of years now. I see Tupper Lake, the Holy Ghost up there, is looking to they're on their brink. So it's tougher and tougher to keep the doors open, and you need numbers in order to.
Yeah.
That's right.
You see, Calvin, years ago, I remember when I first started teaching this, it was all sisters, and I'm sure there were schools with brothers, but I know we got $50 a month, which half of which we sent to the mother house, and we lived on that, So it wasn't a matter of kids paying tuition. If they paid $50 a year, when I went to school, we didn't pay any tuition.
Yeah, we never paid here until the elementary.
And see, the sisters used to, live on heaven, I guess. I don't know, but we managed. But then, as the lay teachers had to come in, even to pay them a living wage, which sometimes I question whether we do. I told you I so admire them, and they're there, and they're beautiful, beautiful people of faith. But you're right, finances comes into that, and we're very fortunate. Father, in his foresight, has put together a group, a task force. Maybe, Father, you could speak about
Well,
that.
again, it's kind of a response. We're all aware of the situation with, as you mentioned, these other schools that have had to close the doors, and the purpose of this task force is to buck the trend. We don't want to fall into that same category. So we did get a group of people together, people from our parish council, from our finance council, a sister and myself, and we're looking exactly at that. How can we, keep a good thing going with St. Mary's Academy? And it's kind of like a three-pronged approach. We all realize how much our families contribute, and the parish contributes to financing our school. All of the little fundraisers that the kids and the families are promoting and working for. So we have to continue with those short-term fundraisers, but that's not enough to really provide for long-term security in terms of keeping the school going. So we have a small subcommittee going, just looking at those little fundraisers and which ones are working, how can we promote them better. We have another aspect, just like a three-pronged approach. The second aspect would be looking at promoting the school with some publicity. And again, why we ask you here too, as part of our approach to promote the school and education, just with looking at the television, with using the newspapers, our Catholic newspaper, and other ways of promoting the school and getting the message out. And the third aspect, or the third prong of that task force, is to look at long-term stability, financial stability, by the establishment of a not-for-profit foundation. We're just in the very early stages of the formation of this foundation. I've had contact with people in the diocese, checking with them. Of course, we'd have to get their approval and backing. Also, talk to different people who have worked in this area. Janice Schoen, who works in the diocese, said she would be willing to come up and speak with us. So at our parish council meeting last evening, we talked about this as well, and we're looking to maybe scheduling a meeting early in September with our council people, but also opening it up to the larger community, just to get information out to the people. And I raised the question last night, if the community is not going to be behind the establishment of this type of foundation, we're butting our heads against the wall. So I asked the council last night, and they seem to think that, well, no, it is worth pursuing. And so we believe we have to have the community behind us, and that's part of the initial stages, is to just talk with people, get their input. Do you think that this is a worthwhile goal? And we believe that the people will respond, but we have to check things out with them first. And we're very hopeful that if we can establish this foundation, which will be a process. I mean, it's a long-term thing. It'll be, a year, 2 years, just setting it up. If we can set up this foundation, we would be able to have some real financial stability for the school, which would be for the long run, and we wouldn't have to depend, for example, on selling chocolate bars or whatever it is that the kids are always into, and so we're very hopeful that we can meet success with this task force.
Okay. One thing was on my mind before you started talking, and then the second thing came on my mind after, so I'll mention the first thing, and that's the fact that for many years, not always every year, but for a lot of years, we've had students here who aren't necessarily Catholic, just people that want Christian values have also sent their children here.
The gospel values.
Right, so you don't have to feel that if you're not a Catholic that St. Mary's isn't something that you might want to explore. They could at least come down, talk to you, and get an idea.
Right.
Mm-hmm.
Because if they have deep religious faith in their own
Tradition.
whatever religion they belong to, I'm sure they don't want to have that disrupted by what's going on here. But there are some core values that all Christians believe, and and most non-Christians believe too.
Yeah. Those
So-
gospel values. That's
Right,
what they
so-
are. They're just.
So those are available here, and so I would be safe to say that religion is part of the curriculum, but kids aren't hammered over the head with it.
No, no. They're very normal young people. It's a nice family environment. Part of religion isn't just learning about God, but it's living a happy life, living a peace-filled life, laughing a lot. That's and children have such a beautiful innocence. And that's why I think it's so important to give them their childhood. I think sometimes our culture today is taking their childhood away from them. And, they're supposed to be grown up and they get conscious of the style of clothes and the hairstyle and piercing their nose and piercing their ears and piercing their tongue. And you know what? They're kids.
Yeah.
They're kids. We
right.
have to let them be kids. I always loved it when in the winter time the boys would come in and they'd have those hats on. They were out playing, and they'd pull their hats off and their hair is going every which way, and they didn't care, because they are who they are. And that's a good lesson for us, that you are who you are even if your hair's out of place, or you are who you are, like when they got into painting or something and they got something on their face, or they can laugh at themselves. There's so much we can learn from kids. And I think sometimes we're so busy giving them what maybe we didn't have that we forget to give them what we did have, and it was the simple stuff. And so there's small classes or individual attention. Over and over and over again I hear that from the Catholic school graduates. I wouldn't have gotten through. Who did I speak to in Vermont just said, I had trouble in math, and they worked with me and worked with me and worked with me, and I got through my math. It's the extra in that, working with them. But religion, learning to pray. Look at how many people and groups in the public school want to pray, and it goes to court. And then they get told they can't pray. And it's coming right out of the kid's heart because God is there. So we can teach them to pray, but maybe we can help our kids to laugh, and maybe we can help our kids to remain simple, in a good way, because we have to be simple too. We can't get too complex.
I'd love to take my hat off and have my hair all over the place. I can't say that anymore.
Your hair is all over the
It's
place.
all over the place as far as it goes.
Some of it's in Watertown.
That's right. My hair is already counted, I think.
Some is in Peru.
It's pretty easy
Lord
task.
knows, Lord knows. Yeah.
And the other thing that I thought of when you started mentioning the this new group you're forming and the fact that it's a parish thing is the fact that St. Mary's is really a regional elementary school. It's a parish school, but other parishes actually help subsidize it.
That's right.
And unfortunately, when I look at the roster of students, I don't see these parishes taking advantage of it and encouraging their kids to come here. I would personally like to see more of an outreach into these parishes to get some of these students here. I know, like you take a child in Moore's Forks, well, if they're kindergarten, the parent may not want to leave them on the bus all the way here to St. Mary's, but maybe by the time they're in second, third grade, they could come over or something.
Yeah.
But
It's not funny, if I can interrupt you, I'm sorry, sister, but this isn't scripted at all, but you're mentioning that, and I have a letter before me that I'm writing to the local pastors with that specific point, and part of it is, like, I'm thanking them because they do subsidize, the local parishes do subsidize St. Mary's Academy. The diocese sends them a specific amount based on their income, which they are, because it is the only local school in this area, if we get away from Plattsburgh. And so all of the local parishes in Rouse's Point, and Altona, and Moore's Forks, and Coopersville, they all,
Shazy too, I think.
Shazy as well, yeah. So they all contribute to the support of this of our school, and I'm very grateful, and they're wonderful about it. The priests are wonderful about it. But it would be very even greater if we could have them, and this is what I'm encouraging them in the letter here, is to encourage their young families to enroll in the school. I mean, they're paying for it in a way, and of course the Catholic families, the parishioners who come here do get a break with tuition, and the tuition is not outrageous by any sense by today's standards. But if they would encourage some of their young families to take advantage of St. Mary's Academy, I think it would be just marvelous. So it's interesting, how you brought that up, and I have this letter before me. I thought it was.
And we try, two things. We try, if a family can't afford tuition, we do everything to, like I just about beg, borrow, steal to get to get tuition to help them. We're not going to say no because you don't have the money. We don't want to be an elite school. But secondly, and this may surprise you, but I have consistently asked, and the kids tell me, the kids make the decisions where they want to go. And after the kid makes the decision, the parent comes up with the excuses. I used to, when I was at IHC in Watertown, we had 2 carloads of sisters, but only 1 car, and so we got turns going back to pick them up. Well, I used to pick the kids up to go to the public school on bad days, and I would take them to the public school on my trip back to the convent. And I got talking, and they were high school kids, and I got talking with them as we would go. And the kids said, "Sister, we make the decision to go." And then our parents come up with the money. Look at where our priorities are. Look at the money that we have to go out. And if you really want a Catholic education, you can do it. But sometimes it's the excuse that comes. And the kid, "I don't want to leave my friends, I don't want this." And the parents say, "Oh, I let them make their decision and they don't want to come back." And I'm thinking, do you let them decide whether you're going to learn to read or not, whether you're going to learn manners, whether you're going to obey? Do you let them decide all the important decisions when they're in first grade? They're going to decide where they're going to go, second grade, third grade, high school? If we let kids make important decisions, before they're ready, they only make them on this much knowledge. We're looking at a whole life. And so it is true that from the parishes, we have to encourage our kids to go. But we have to encourage parents to be parents and to make the decision that will give their kids these lasting values. But those are the important things. And I've asked kids again and again and again, and I've been in education, for a long time, and the kids will tell me. In most cases, they make the decision.
Okay, I believe are we planning on taking a little tour of the school? Is that part of the plan?
Did you want to do that?
Laura said. That's why we're starting
We could do that.
in the afternoon, so the students would have been cleared out by the time we
Okay.
Is that
show up. Good or bad, right?
Well, don't want to get kids on tape unless they're promoting the school, unless
Oh,
the parents
they
occur.
would,
Yeah, I think most parents wouldn't have a problem with it, but
Yeah, that's
Either
true.
it's not like
Oh,
you're
they
covering
can
an
give us
event there.
permission,
That's
yeah,
right,
that's
yeah,
true,
right.
that's true.
So, with that, we can adjourn and pick up, unless there's something else that
No.
you're going to forget if we don't say it right now.
No, that's
I don't
fine.
wanna-
That's fine, Calvin.
All right.
Just thank you, Calvin, because you've been great.
Okay, we are outside the latest edition, which is only 40 years old, Father.
Well, you would know better than I, Calvin. I think, yeah. But it is the older part of the building, of course. Yeah, I think 1906 is the cornerstone on that, or
Yeah, the old original part. and
Right.
It was expanded a couple of times, and this was the latest one, and it was originally the high school. Now, there are many rooms that aren't being utilized now. I know for years, initially back when the school closed in '69, a year or two after that, the high school rented several rooms, and then after they built and added on, they no longer rented those, and some of the rooms were used for various purposes, for storage and stuff, but are most of the rooms being utilized now throughout the school?
I think so. I think there's very few rooms that are not in use at this time. Of course, all on the first level are the classrooms and office spaces and this sort of thing. And in the older part of the building, remarkably too, is getting a lot of use as well. There, we have the music room upstairs. There's also an art room. The library and the computer room are all upstairs. And we're in the process now of finishing off a couple of other rooms. One would be used more for conference and perhaps teacher meetings, that sort of thing. One of the rooms will remain for storage, of course, and it's not finished. And another room too could be used for as a meeting area or even as a prayer area if we fix up a space for that. So the building is getting a lot of use. I mean, space-wise, we're taking good advantage of all of the rooms.
And it's now K through 6, or actually pre-K through 6?
Pre-K through 6, that's right, yep. So it's a little bit different when it was K through 12, but again, I think we're still making good use of the building.
It'd be hard to fit in 13 grades right now, wouldn't it?
Well, it might be fun trying.
All right, let's go inside and we'll take a look around. All right, we are inside the school right now. We have some displays for the students. Now they're in the former high school section. There's 6th, 5th, 4th, and 3rd grades.
That's right.
And what used to be the laboratory is now an after-school program. Is that correct?
I think that is not the after-school program. I think that's the teacher's lounge and after-school study area. at
After-school
this
study
point.
area. Okay.
I think that is now.
All right.
That's the way they have it set up.
Faculty room, it's called. All right, we've made our way up the stairs, and the former aftercare room, which was a laboratory when I was in school here, is now the faculty room. And as Sister mentioned, some of the students who need a little quieter spot to do their homework after school can
That's right.
utilize that room.
And even during the day, even sometimes there's a time during the day where the students need a study time. Over lunch, for example, and they need to catch up on some work. There's usually a faculty member present having their lunch in the faculty room, but there's also tables set apart. And the kids have been very good about working quietly in that setting, right?
Okay, and now the aftercare has moved to here, and down the hall. What do we have? Just off the top of your head. You must
Well,
know
we
it.
have the first grade, the kindergarten on this right side, and also the pre-K is at the very end of the hall. And on the left side, we have the second grade, and also another pre-K building. Now, there's 2 pre-K groups. One is for 3-year-olds, one's for 4-year-olds. They run on different days. I think the 3-year-olds run on Wednesdays and Fridays, and the 4-year-olds on Monday. I got that wrong. Tuesday, Thursdays, I think, are the 3-year-olds, and then Monday, Wednesday, Friday are the 4-year-olds. But both of those rooms are used by the early childhood teachers. Yeah.
Okay. Now we've moved up to the top level, and the music room is at the end. Immediately on our left is...
Well, on the left, just the side of the music room is the library, and here we have the computer room here, just in front of us here.
And down the hall is the music and art, art and...
There's an art room down the hall on your right, and also just before the art room is one of the rooms that was just restored, and that's basically used as a conference area.
Okay. And just in case people got the idea, and I don't imagine anybody did, but just in case people got the idea that because Sister Corrada doesn't think students should spend all their spare time on the computer, doesn't mean that they're not getting a computer education here at St. Mary's.
It's a necessary thing to know technology and to be able to use technology in our world today. And we do have a strong computer program for our students.
But no big war games here being played in this room, right?
No, it's education. It's education and learning. And I know when I was here before, and I would presume that would be the case, that our students, by the time they finish 6th grade, usually have keyboarding skills and they have word processing skills and they can type up their papers. So.
Okay, we're going to wrap up our little tour in the library. And again, St. Mary's is K through 6. It's not a middle school. Some people love the idea of getting their child into the middle school as a 6th grader, and some are a little more hesitant. And I'm sure there's once in a while you have somebody who didn't come here for the first up through grade 5, but decided to send their child here for grade 6.
Yes, it happens.
And what's the ideal? We don't want this campaign to be so successful that you don't have room for the kids. What's the ideal class size you might be looking for?
Well, again, I think our class, we look for, a classroom size where they can get individual attention. So, if we can have like from, I would say from 12 to 20 is a good number if we can get that, so that's an ideal group to work with. I think once you get more than 20, it's difficult. And if you can keep it within those ranges, I think it's a good number to work with. So.
Okay, and if people want more information, what should they do?
Well, if they want more information, it's just a question of calling the school or calling the rectory. The rectory number is 298-8244, and we can give you more information. We also have packets put together which have enrollment information. So anything, any questions, they could just call or stop by and pay a visit. And we also have a web page here for St. Mary's Academy too. I don't have the web page address in mind, but we have little brochures, and the web page is on the brochure. If you'd like a brochure, again, just let us know. We can mail one out to you, and that information is there.
Okay, and we're going to give the final word to the principal.
As is appropriate, yes.
As
Sister should always have the final
I'm
word.
even going to let her hold the microphone.
Okay. Well, I just want to thank you for Calvin for taking the time with us and for showing our little interview here. And I also want to thank the people who were surfing the channels and stopped. Ask for your prayers, not only for us, but for all of our Catholic schools, and that gospel values can be taught to our children. Check out your own Catholic school. See if you can help. If you have a few extra rubles, offer them for kids for tuition, and come and see. That's all. Come and see. So many just come and check us out, and they stay with us. And we're here to help you bring up your children with a full and wholehearted education. And I think that's about it. Father, any last words?
Well,
okay.
Other than that, I did find the webpage, the email address, and it's office@primelink1.net. And we have a very fine parent who is in the process of updating that web page, and we should be able to get information out to parents in that way too. We talked about that at the Education Council the other night, and we're hoping to have a good, viable source of information for anyone who does have an interest in Catholic education. There's also the school phone number, 298-3372. So we hope to hear